There was a time, not too far ago, where achievements were the hot new thing in gaming, and waves of players tried to collect them all. I was one of many that enjoyed the idea of hunting achievements down like there was no tomorrow in my favorite games, but it has been a while since, and the achievement mania bubble seems to have burst. But how and why? Why are achievements not popular anymore? First things first, roll the intro. Achievements as we know them today started in the late 200s with the Xbox 360 gamescores and PlayStation 3's trophies. Remember those? Feel like yesterday and ages ago at the same time. Since then, many other digital platforms like Steam, Epic Store and Ubisoft Connect have adopted achievement systems in various sorts, with Nintendo consoles being the sole noticeable exception. I do not wish to dive into the philosophical definition of what an achievement is, so let us stick with the most common definition of it being a challenge defined outside the game. An achievement has to be facultative, not mandatory for the progression of the game, as the game does not even know whether you earn the achievement or not. There are various types of achievements like passive, proactive, out of the box, etc., but let us not get ahead of ourselves. I would be lying if I state that achievements no longer exist, because that is not true. If anything, I think more and more games have them, since developers learn how to implement them and make them functional cross-platform with ease. However, they are often hidden away, and do not hear much fuss about them like 10 years ago. Achievement hunting is still a thing, but a side activity that very few attempt. It is a bit like speedrunning. It is an alternative way to play a game and people are aware of it, maybe try to do a speedrun or two for the fun of it, but very few people will go that extra mile to try to speedrun every game. And while the speedrunning niche is somewhat popular, heck, even I speedrun a game before for the channel, achievement hunting flies under the radar for many, and it seems to be a relic of the past. But if you have been playing games for the past 10 years, you might still remember achievements to be a hot topic. What are the hottest achievements, the most creative ones, the silliest ones, the top 10s and whatnot? Yet now every time I play a game with achievements like Celeste, when I see the little Steam notification popping up, I think, right, achievements, they are still a thing, I guess. And it made me think, what caused the downfall of achievements? But perhaps even more importantly, what made achievements interesting in the first place? As an older player that remembers being fascinated by achievements in the past, I wish to share my perspective over this story, my and many people's evolution of the understanding of the gaming world, and the changes in the gaming world itself. What happened to achievements? One of my first PlayStation 3 games was Assassin's Creed 2, a classic that made me see video games in a whole new perspective. A true masterclass and one of my favorite games of all times. If you have played or have a vague memory of AC2, you probably remember the infamous 100 Feathers, collectibles located all around Florence and Venice. This is not the first time video games had collectibles of this genre, but it was one of the most mainstream ones and one of the first ones that combined it with achievements in general. Obtaining these 100 Feathers has virtually no purpose. You do not get stronger, faster or smarter, it has no impact on the story of the game and you are not even rewarded with a cutscene. The sole advantage of getting these 100 invisible feathers is just a fancier cape, nothing more. Then why did people bother collecting them all? The genius thing about achievements and trophies in the early days of the Xbox 360 and PS3 is that the reward was not within the game, but outside, in the player's console account. This meant that no matter the game, if you wanted to show off your dedication and skills by mastering a title, you could do so by getting achievements and increasing your digital award shelf. Anyone could play and complete a game before that, of course. Nobody was stopping you to get all gold caps in Mario Kart Double Dash in the GameCube, for instance. But the difference now would be that you get recognized for your achievements by obtaining, well, an achievement that would be displayed directly under your user ID. And again, any game could count. I could be playing two very different titles. Let's say Portal 2 and DuckTales, for instance. Regardless of their developers or gameplay or anything, both games' achievements would add up to my greater collection. In some systems there were even ranked achievements, meaning that the hard achievement gave you a gold trophy rather than a bronze one, and as you can imagine, the more gold and platinums you had, the better. Achievements combine the rewarding system of getting an award to do something time-consuming with the interconnectivity and showcasing of such awards in a greater meta ecosystem. You got those 100 feathers, you got that achievement, you are a more devoted player than the rest. Congratulations! At first, achievements were heavily linked with gameplay. The vast majority just mirrored activities you would carry out in the game regardless of the achievement's presence, like complete chapter 7 or whatever. But then they'd become more independent, demanding the player to achieve something very obscure the game did not even consider, like completing the main campaign by only using a certain weapon. Completing a game 100% was made harder and harder with more obscure and specific tasks to complete. Games like Hearts of Iron 4 asked the player to complete insane goals over very long campaigns to unlock a single achievement. And we're speaking of extremely obscure goals like "Go ahead, Macau my day", whereas Portugal you need to create a collaborating government in Macau and have it own all of mainland China. I mean, what? Why? Who came up with this challenge? The reason why games added achievements was of course to artificially extend the playtime of a game. Rather than to state Tomb Raider's campaign lasts for 10 hours, a developer could claim that the complete game could potentially last twice or 3 times as much. This is no insignificant detail when you consider that there is people that waste money with the time spent due to restrictive budgets. Overall, I would say that achievements had a pretty comfortable place in the gaming world. They increase engagement, gaming time, give a sense of a challenge, and besides, if you didn't care about achievements, they would not even have an effect on the game itself, so they couldn't harm your experience in any way. But what if everyone stopped caring about achievements, even developers? One of my first Nintendo Switch games was The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, a classic that made me see video games in a whole new perspective, a true masterclass and one of my favorite games of all times. Huh, did I already said this? Anyways, if AC2 had the infamous Pietruccio's feathers, Zelda has its infamous korok seeds, hidden collectibles scattered around the map. Oh, and this time not 100, but 9 times that. Yes, well over 900, and those did have an impact on the game itself. Collecting them would increase the space of your inventory. At this point, you would guess that collecting all korok seeds would give you a very rare achievement to boost your Nintendo Switch account. But no, quite the opposite in fact. The game famously gives you a useless item mocking your devotion to complete such an enormous pointless task. The only reason there are so many korok seeds in the first place is to make it easy to find them when traveling the world. You didn't need to collect them all after all. Games like Zelda Breath of the Wild demonstrate the absurdity of first achievements in games. Why are players who do not wish to do such mundane tasks being considered inferior to others? Why do arbitrary external factors manipulate your way of enjoying a game? Why should mundane tasks be more important than quests within a given title? When you think about it, achievements made something very peculiar. They made single-player games competitive. Achievement hunters were trying to see who had the longest and biggest trophy shelf by grinding hours upon hours in non-competitive games. This problem existed at the very moment achievements were introduced, but the fuss around them has hidden these counter-arguments. I think that the sole factor that killed achievements for good was time. People realized after 5, 10, 15 years that hunting achievements was futile in the long term. You could have so many achievements before they started losing meaning. A mission within a game can be memorable, or at the very least useful to level up your character, but an achievement, it flies away as quickly as it arrives. The 9th of July 2016, I played a whole civilization campaign in the Scramble for Africa scenario as Great Britain, just to get this one achievement, complete a railroad from Cairo to Cape Town. I had fun playing the game and achieving this task, but when I realized this was one achievement out of 286 and I was playing someone else's challenge rather than my own, I felt cheated, like I was losing time rather than seeking my own enjoyment from the game naturally. Completing a game 100% is not inherently a negative thing. There are some games that we enjoy so much that even collecting and completing the most mundane tasks over and over is fun. Heck, I'm like one of the 2 people in the whole world that enjoys the Just Cause franchise. However, filling the game with fodder checklists just to make the experience as diluted as possible is not a good practice, and with time, players have started to notice. In fact, I would go the extra mile and claim that developers also realized that pedantic and mundane tasks were no longer a reliable way to make video games in the first place. The use of formula was extremely popular in the early 2010s. Titles like Far Cry 3 and Assassin's Creed Black Flag were praised as peak of game development due to their infinite checklists to complete. But now modern games focus more on organic experiences, games where the player is not rewarded to complete as much as possible, but rather is let free to play as they desire. There is no specific day when achievements became unpopular, it kind of just happened gradually over time. My personal gut feeling is that the peak of achievement mania was in the first half of the 2010s, being downhill from there. There are still people who like hunting down every last achievement, even YouTube channels built around this premise, and I fully respect their way of playing video games, but I and many other players hung up our boots and left achievement hunting for good. Achievements have played a role in my gaming experience, and most likely than not also in yours. I do not have anything against achievements, and I still sometimes randomly check if there is something silly I can do in a game just for the sake of watching the pop-up notification appear below my screen. I think the gaming world has evolved past that phase, and now games try to implement more organic tasks for the player to achieve rather than, well, literally achievements. Who knows, maybe a similar system will gain momentum and become popular again, but until then, this was the story of achievements as we knew them. If you made it this far, I wanted to thank you one too many achievements times for watching today's video. I had this video idea for a long while, so long that originally the video premise was different, debating with a guest star like the amazing Dandots if achievements were essential in gaming or not. But as you might have guessed, my passion for achievements has faded away, and I wanted to take a more critical look at the decline they had over the past years. Besides, I got a gut feeling we'll be seeing Dandots very soon. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, do not forget to leave this video a like, to share it and subscribe for more. I wish you a wonderful day, and until next time, arrivederci.